I faced every dog owner's nightmare. The homeowner association president sprayed my service dog, then tried to have him labeled dangerous. All because she claimed he barked too much. My name is Jack Dalton. I once handled dogs trained to find bombs. Now I handle Teddy, a golden retriever who helps me silence the noise in my head. He is my service dog, and our quiet suburban home was supposed to be our peace. But peace in this neighborhood had a ruler, Karen Jordan, homeowner association president, queen of lawn height and mailbox design. One morning Teddy and I walked past Mrs. Gable's roses. A delivery truck backfired, a crack like a rifle shot. My chest tightened. Teddy barked once, pressed his shoulder to my knee, grounding me as trained. That was enough for Karen. She stormed from her perfect lawn, visor perched, voice sharp as glass. Jack Dalton, you cannot control that animal. I told her Teddy was a service dog, startled by noise. She called him a menace, announcing to the empty street that he constantly threatened the community. It was a lie. Teddy barely barked twice a week. Neighbors peeked from windows as Karen declared this my final warning. Then a police cruiser appeared. She waved them down, spinning a tale of Teddy lunging at her, frothing like a beast. Teddy sat calmly at my side, confused, eyes asking what he had done wrong. Officers Miller and Sanchez knew Karen's drama. Ma'am, it is a dog on a leash. He seems calm, Miller said. But Karen was not done. While the officers glanced away, she pulled a small canister and sprayed Teddy in the face. He yelped, stumbling, pawing at his eyes, whining in pain. I dropped to my knees beside him. Teddy. Hey buddy. My chest burned with fury. My training kicked in. Teddy's eyes were red, tearing, the air reeking of bitter chemicals. Rage burned through me. Karen stood smug, holding the canister. It is just citronella, she said. Teddy whimpered, rubbing his face on the grass. Officer Sanchez handed me saline. I flushed his eyes. She assaulted my service animal in front of you, I said, glaring at Karen. Officer Miller bagged the spray as evidence. Later tests would show it held capsaicin concentrate. Karen claimed to be the victim. I took photos, Karen, the officers, Teddy's swollen eyes. Anger shifted into strategy. She had dared the system to stop her, knowing they would downplay it. The cops took notes, told her to go inside, told me to take a different route. They treated it like a petty dispute. But I knew better. It was war. At home I comforted Teddy, rinsing his eyes as he trembled. Every whimper tore through me. I researched citronella sprays, enough to cause lasting harm, not harmless as she claimed. I filed a report with photos, knowing it would probably be ignored, but it built a record. One brick at a time. The next morning, escalation arrived in a white van with the county seal. Animal control. My stomach turned to ice. Officer Ruiz stepped out, clipboard in hand. We have received a report concerning your golden retriever, he said. My jaw tightened. From Karen Jordan, I assume. Ruiz read, Teddy bit a child yesterday. The words slammed into me. There had been no child. Just Karen, the cops, and me. It was a fabricated story. A ghost victim. I told Ruiz it was impossible, but he had a sworn statement. Likely one of Karen's allies. He said procedure required mandatory quarantine, 10 days at the county shelter. A shelter meant noise, fear, concrete floors. For Teddy, it would undo years of training. It would break him. I started with the Millers. Usually friendly, they hesitated before opening the door. Everything okay? He asked nervously. I explained about the false report and the 24-hour deadline, asking for their camera footage. He glanced at the orange sign on my door, avoiding my eyes. Our subscription might have lapsed, he muttered. It was a lie. He was choosing Karen. Next was Mrs. Gable. She had seen the incident. At first, sympathy filled her face. That awful woman went after your Teddy, she said. Hope surged until I asked about cameras or a statement. Her expression died. Oh, I could not. Karen heads the review committee. My shed is not up to code. Fear kept her silent. The corner house did not answer. The renters down the block said their landlord controlled the cameras. Another dead end. That left Duke. His camera had the perfect angle. He answered with a rag in hand, grunting about the sign. I asked for the footage. He looked away, muttering, "Camera is on the fritz." I saw its green light flashing. I pressed harder. "She got to you, did not she? What did she promise? Your oil stain, your satellite dish." He flinched. Then his eyes hardened. "Stay out of my business. That dog of yours is a beast. Good riddance." He slammed the door. I stood there, fists clenched, fighting the urge to break it down. That was Karen's trap. Turn me into the monster she claimed I was. I forced myself to breathe, step away, and head home. The street felt hostile. Every curtain seemed an eye. The orange sign on my door blazed like a brand. Teddy paced inside, waiting. My chest tightened with fury. I had nothing. 22 hours left. No witnesses, no video. The walls were closing in. By afternoon, I drove to Animal Control and met Supervisor Kim. I submitted photos, the spray can receipt, and the homeowner association flyer. She scanned them. "If I get credible counter-evidence by midnight, I can hold the destruction order," she said. Her voice softened. "I am a dog person. I do not like being used by liars." We understood each other. At home, Teddy pressed his head against my knee, trusting me. My phone buzzed with a homeowner association notice. It accused me of failing to control an aggressive animal, creating a nuisance, and threatening the homeowner association president. Fines totaled $1,250. The final line hit like a hammer. They would seek an injunction and a lien that could lead to foreclosure. They were not just after Teddy. They wanted my home. For a moment, despair washed over me. Maybe I could give Teddy to a rescue. Maybe I could leave. I was tired. But Teddy nudged my hand, our reset signal, easing the noise in my head. His loyalty reminded me he had saved me countless times. He was my family. The despair faded, replaced with resolve. They thought fines and fear would break me. They had cornered me. A cornered man with nothing to lose is the most dangerous of all. I paced, thinking like a soldier again. Karen was the commander with her bored allies. Neighbors were scared civilians. Police and animal control were neutral forces, easy to sway. Her plan was shock and awe, overwhelm me until I surrendered. I needed intelligence, her weak point. That meant going behind enemy lines. There was one man who could help, Marcus, my old unit's tech wizard. We had saved each other's lives more than once. Now he worked in cybersecurity. If anyone could help me turn the tide, it was him. I picked up my phone. Our bond did not need words. Marcus answered on the second ring, sarcasm gone when I told him everything: Karen, the spray, the false bite report, the 24-hour deadline, the homeowner association notice. "They are trying to kill my dog," I said. "Not while I am on watch," he replied. I asked for intel. The coordination felt too precise. "You want me in their server," he said. Typing filled the line. "Their site is a joke. Give me 30 minutes. Keep quiet." He hung up. Waiting was agony. I cleaned, paced, tried not to spiral. Teddy tracked my every move. 19 hours left. Then the doorbell rang. A short man in a sun hat grinned. "Marty. Ham radio nerd, K8MR. Heard a lot of Karen chatter last night. If things go dark, I have got hotspots and power. Call me." He handed me a card with a lightning bolt drawn in Sharpie. I show up to everything with wires. His odd confidence made me smile. Minutes later, Marcus called back. "I am in." Their password was Meadows123. Pathetic. But jackpot. Emails from Karen. My pulse quickened. He read one aloud. "Sarah, draft a complaint to Animal Control. Say Dalton's dog bit a child. Make it anonymous. Use emergency protocol. I want that animal gone by week's end." My breath caught. Premeditated. Marcus kept scrolling. Karen emailed the homeowner association board too, calling Teddy a liability and me unstable, claiming I lowered property values. She pre-wrote the violation notices and eviction letter. The board replied with blind agreement. Finally, the witness. It was not a neighbor, Marcus said. It was her assistant, Sarah. Karen bullied her into signing under threat of losing her job. Marcus forwarded the chain. I stared at the words, the manipulation, the cold malice. It was the wrecking ball I needed. Karen thought she was untouchable. She did not know I had a ghost in the machine. The clock was still ticking, but for the first time, hope cut through the dread. I had the truth. Now I had to decide how to use it. Admitting I had illegally hacked evidence would get the case thrown out and land Marcus in a world of trouble. That was a line I would not cross. My friend had put himself on the line for me. I had to protect him. This meant the emails could not be the primary weapon. They had to be the backup, the blackmail, the thing I used if all else failed. My primary target had to be Sarah, the assistant, the coerced witness. She was the weak link in Karen's chain of command. If I could get her to flip, the whole conspiracy would unravel legally. But how? Pleading with her would not work. Threatening her with the emails might just make her double down. Terrified of Karen's wrath. I needed leverage. I needed an opportunity. I spent the next few hours in a state of high alert. I watched the street from my window. I needed to understand the rhythm of the neighborhood, the patterns of my enemy. Karen left around noon in her pristine luxury SUV. A few minutes later, a younger woman in a sensible sedan pulled up to Karen's house. She used a key to let herself in. Sarah, she was probably there to water the plants or feed a cat. I watched her for a moment. She looked stressed, her shoulders hunched. She was a prisoner in her own job. I formulated a plan. It was risky. It relied on chance, but it was the only one I had. I put Teddy's leash on. According to the quarantine rules, he could not leave the property, but my fenced-in front yard counted as my property. We went outside. I began a meticulous, slow-paced training drill with Teddy right there in the front yard. Basic commands: sit, stay, heel. It gave me a reason to be outside watching, waiting. It was also good for Teddy, giving him a sense of purpose and routine in the middle of all this chaos. We were out there for maybe 20 minutes when I saw my chance. The side gate to Karen's yard was open and out trotted a small, fluffy white dog. A Bichon Frise. It was yapping excitedly, its tail a blur. It belonged to Sarah. I had seen her walking it before. Sarah came out a moment later, her phone pressed to her ear. She was distracted, arguing with someone. No, I told her it was not true, she was saying, her voice strained. I do not know what else to do. The little dog, seeing its chance for adventure, made a break for it. It shot out of the open gate and headed straight for the street. Sarah, still on the phone, did not notice. My heart leaped into my throat. A car was coming, not fast, but fast enough. It was a delivery van. The driver was looking down at a package on his passenger seat. He was not paying attention. There was no time to shout, no time to think. I reacted. Teddy, stay, I commanded. He sat instantly. Teddy never left the yard. I vaulted my low fence in a single fluid motion. Years of training took over. 3 long strides and I was in the street. I scooped up the little white dog just as the van swerved, the driver finally looking up, his eyes wide with panic. The tires screeched a foot from where I stood. My heart was pounding. The little dog was trembling in my arms, letting out tiny, frightened yelps. Sarah finally saw what had happened. She dropped her phone. Her face went pale with horror. "Oh my God," she whispered, rushing over. "Oh my God, Alfie, are you okay?" I handed the little dog to her. She hugged it close, burying her face in its fur. She was shaking. "He could have been killed," she stammered, looking at me, her eyes filled with a mixture of terror and gratitude. "You saved him. Just keep your gate closed," I said, my voice steady. My adrenaline was starting to fade. I turned to walk back to my yard. "Wait," she called out. I stopped and looked back. She had tears in her eyes. "Why would you do that after what I did? After what she made me do?" Here was the opening, the moral crossroads she was standing on. I walked back towards her, stopping a few feet away. "Because it was not the dog's fault," I said simply. "And maybe it was not entirely yours either." Her face crumpled. The guilt she had been holding back came pouring out. "She is a monster," she whispered, clutching Alfie so tight he whimpered. "She threatened my job. My mom is sick. I need the insurance." I did not know what to do. I signed the paper. I lied. "I am so sorry." I looked her in the eye. I saw not an enemy, but another victim. A different kind of victim, but a victim nonetheless. I have the emails, Sarah, I said, my voice quiet but firm. The ones between you and Karen. I know she coerced you. I know this whole thing is a lie. Her eyes widened in shock. She did not ask how I got them. She just knew it was the truth. What are you going to do? She asked, her voice trembling. This was the moment. I could have used the emails to threaten her. I could have been just like Karen. But that is not who I am. That is not what this was about. This was about justice, not revenge. I'm going to give you a choice. I said, you can continue to live in fear of a woman who would risk your dog's life while she has you sign a death warrant for mine, or you can tell the truth. You can help me stop her. Not just for me and for Teddy, but for yourself and for anyone else she decides to bully. I let the words hang in the air between us. I had saved her dog. I had shown her I knew the truth. And I had offered her a path to redemption instead of a threat. I had given her back the power Karen had taken from her. She looked from my face to my house with the ugly orange sign, then down to the little dog still shaking in her arms. I saw the conflict in her eyes, the war between her fear and her conscience. After a long moment, she took a deep, shuddering breath and nodded. "Okay," she whispered. "What do we do?" The tide had just turned. 18 hours left. The plan we hatched was simple and audacious. The homeowner association had scheduled an emergency meeting for that evening in the community clubhouse. The official agenda, emailed out an hour earlier, was to discuss community safety and pet policy enforcement. It was a sham. The real purpose was to publicly crucify me and rubber stamp the board's decision to evict. Karen wanted a public execution. I was going to give her one, just not the one she was expecting. Sarah was my inside woman. She told me the meeting was scheduled for 7. She also told me Karen had prepared a binder full of so-called evidence against me. Mostly anonymous complaints she had likely written herself. I called Marcus. "Change of plans," I said. "I am not using the emails as a threat. I am using them as a safety net. I have the witness." She has flipped. I could almost hear him smile through the phone. Attaboy, Jack, always find a way to turn their own assets against them. What is the play? I am walking into the lion's den. I told him the homeowner association meeting, but I need you there. I need you to be my tech support and my witness. Say no more, he said. I will be there and I will bring a friend. At 6:18 p.m., my router lights died. My phone dropped to SOS. I stepped outside and found the cable at the sidewall sliced clean. Of course, I muttered. Marcus rolled up early, saw the drooping line, and gave a low whistle. Subtle. Marty zipped in behind him in a dented hatchback, tossed the hatch, and revealed a treasure chest of gadgets. "Brought the circus," he said. "You got power?" "Yeah." He suction cupped a small antenna to my window. "We will hop cell bands, triple failover." He taped a cord along the trim with blue painter's tape and gave me a look. "It is ugly, but it works." My phone chimed back to life. Marcus tested the stream. "We are up." Marty saluted. K8 MRT out. He tripped, recovered, and shot finger guns at the router corpse. Nice try, gremlins. I checked the time. 6:42. We were still in the fight. At 6:45, we headed for the clubhouse. On the way, Marcus briefed me. Streams live to a private link. I have pinged local news and an animal welfare group. If anyone kills the Wi-Fi, we fail over to cell. World's watching quietly. We walked into the clubhouse. It was a sterile room with beige walls and uncomfortable folding chairs. About 30 residents were there. I saw the Millers who would not look at me. I saw Mrs. Gable, who gave me a sad, helpless shrug. I saw neighbor Duke, who sneered openly. At the front of the room, behind a long folding table, sat Karen Jordan and her 2 bored cronies, a man who looked like a deflated balloon and a woman with a permanent scowl. Karen's eyes narrowed when she saw me walk in. They narrowed even more when she saw Marcus, a stranger, sit down in the back and casually place his phone on the table in front of him, aimed right at her. 2 uniformed officers and a sergeant took positions by the door. Standard crowd control for a heated homeowner association meeting. The property manager had called them after the agenda went out. The clubhouse windows rattled once as a car rolled past slow. I glanced through the glass and saw Karen's SUV crawl by. A teen in the back seat chucked a balloon at the shrub line. To burst. Red paint streaked the mulch like a wound. The sergeant by the door turned his head. Unit outside. No vandalism, he said into his mic. Karen walked in moments later. Cool smile, scented air. I kept my voice even. Cute timing. She did not look at me. You should not bring dangerous animals to public buildings, Mr. Dalton. Teddy is at home on place, I said. But you knew that. Her eye twitched to tell. I filed it away. Duke saw the paint and whispered. Classy to nobody. For once, he did not smirk. Marcus leaned close. Stream caught the balloon, he murmured. Goodness. Let the world see how she decorates. Karen rapped the gavel. Her hand shook. The room was already slipping away from her and she could feel it. Karen banged a small gavel. This emergency meeting of the Greenfield Meadows Homeowners Association is now in session. The first and only item on our agenda is the clear and present danger posed by the animal residing at 124 Willow Lane. She looked directly at me. Mr. Dalton, your dog has been designated a dangerous animal by the county. It has viciously attacked a child, and this board has voted unanimously to enforce the bylaws with fines, injunctions, and liens against you. A murmur went through the crowd. This was what she wanted, a quick, clean vote of public support. I stood up. My voice was calm and carried through the room. Excuse me, Miss Jordan. Before we discuss these sanctions, I would like to discuss the incident you are referring to. The alleged dog bite. Karen's face tightened. There is nothing to discuss. We have a sworn statement from a witness. Do you ask? Because I would love to know the name of this child who was bitten and the name of their parents. Surely a police report was filed. A hospital visit. An incident that severe must have generated some kind of official record. The room was silent. People were starting to look at each other. Karen's story, so solid a moment ago, was starting to sound thin. The family wishes to remain anonymous, Karen snapped. They are renters and they fear retaliation from you. Retaliation, I said with a small, humorless laugh. I am the one being evicted. I am the one whose dog is scheduled to be killed in. I checked my watch. 15 hours. What I fear is a lie. A lie you created. How dare you, she shrieked, her composure cracking. Are you calling me a liar? I said, my voice like ice. And I have proof. I nodded towards the back of the room. Sarah, who had slipped in unnoticed, stood up. She was trembling, but her eyes were defiant. All heads turned towards her. Karen's face went white. She looked like she had seen a ghost. Sarah, Karen stammered. What are you doing? I am telling the truth, Karen, Sarah said, her voice shaking but clear. There was no child. There was no bite. I was there. Jack Dalton's dog was on a leash and did nothing. Karen Jordan sprayed the dog in the face unprovoked. Then she ordered me to file a false report with animal control. She threatened my job if I refused. She wrote the statement and she forced me to sign it. A collective gasp went through the room. The deflated man and the scowling woman on the board looked at Karen in horror. Neighbor Duke's jaw was hanging open. Karen leaped to her feet. She is lying. She is a disgruntled employee. She is in on it with him. But the dam had broken. The fear she had cultivated for years was being washed away by a flood of truth. I have a sworn notarized affidavit right here, Sarah continued, holding up a piece of paper. And I have already sent a copy to Animal Control and the district attorney's office. Then Marcus stood up in the back of the room. And just so everyone is aware, he announced cheerfully, this entire meeting is being live-streamed. The sergeant stepped in. Interfering with a service dog is a crime, and ADA protections apply. Karen's face went blank. Marcus continued, we have about 500 viewers right now, including reporters from Channel 4 News. Maybe you would like to repeat your accusations for them, Miss Jordan. Karen looked at the phone in his hand, the small red light indicating it was recording. She looked at the faces of her neighbors, no longer fearful, but filled with contempt and rage. She looked at me. The trap had sprung. Her face, a mask of righteous indignation moments before, crumbled into pure, unfiltered panic. She grabbed her binder and tried to flee the stage, but Mrs. Gable, a woman she had terrorized over a garden shed, stood up and blocked her path. The meeting had turned into a mutiny. The power had shifted. Karen Jordan was done. The fallout from the live-streamed meeting was immediate and catastrophic for Karen. Before the meeting was even over, my phone started buzzing with calls from local news reporters. Marcus' little broadcast had gone viral in our small city. The story was perfect for the 10 o'clock news. A decorated veteran and his service dog targeted by a power-mad homeowner association president. The court of public opinion delivered its verdict before a real court ever could. The next morning, I woke up to a different world. The orange quarantine sign was still on my door, a relic of a battle already won. A news van was parked down the street. Instead of glares and whispers, my neighbors gave me waves and thumbs up. Neighbor Duke was scrubbing the oil stain on his driveway with a frantic energy, as if trying to wash away his own complicity. My first official call was from animal control. It was a supervisor this time. Her voice was apologetic and professional. "Mr. Dalton, we have received a sworn affidavit from Sarah Peters recanting her original statement. In light of this new evidence and frankly the video of your homeowner association meeting, we are dropping all proceedings against your animal, Teddy." She cited Sarah's affidavit, the live stream, and the pending lab report on the spray. "The quarantine is lifted, effective immediately. The emergency destruction order has been voided. We sincerely apologize for the distress this has caused." I felt a wave of relief so powerful my knees went weak. I hung up the phone and knelt down, wrapping my arms around Teddy. "We won, buddy," I whispered into his fur. "We won." He just licked my face, his tail thumping a steady, happy rhythm against the floor. The legal battle that followed was swift and decisive. The management company called an emergency recall election. Residents voted the board out, citing gross misconduct. They hired a local law firm to represent me pro bono, mostly as a public relations move to save their own skin. We did not even need a long drawn-out fight. We filed a suit against Karen Jordan personally and the now-defunct Homeowner Association Board. Our case was built on a mountain of undeniable evidence. Sarah's testimony, the live stream video, and with a proper subpoena this time, the emails Marcus had uncovered. We stood before a judge a few weeks later. It was a civil court, but the judge, a no-nonsense woman with sharp eyes, treated the matter with the gravity of a criminal case. Karen's lawyer tried to paint me as an unstable veteran and Sarah as a liar looking for revenge. It was a pathetic defense. My lawyer calmly presented the facts. He highlighted the premeditated nature of Karen's plan, her abuse of power, and her blatant disregard for the law. He made special note of Teddy's status as a service animal, which brought the Americans with Disabilities Act into play. When it was time for the judge to rule, she took off her glasses and looked directly at Karen. "Miss Jordan," she began, her voice cold as a winter morning. "In my 15 years on this bench, I have rarely seen such a textbook case of malicious prosecution and neighborhood terrorism. You used your position of power not to build a community, but to tear it down, to enforce your will through fear and intimidation." She turned her attention to me. "Mr. Dalton, what you and your service animal endured is unconscionable. This court finds in your favor on all counts." The judgment was a hammer blow to Karen. The judge voided the homeowner association fines and the threatened injunction and lien actions. She awarded me damages for emotional distress. But she did not stop there. Furthermore, the judge announced, her voice rising, "I am referring this case to the district attorney's office with a strong recommendation for criminal charges. ADA rights are civil. Your crimes are state charges. Both still count. And your testimony here today under oath borders on perjury. You, Miss Jordan, have buried yourself in your own lies." The gavel came down with a final resounding crack. It was over. Justice had not just been served. It had been delivered with overwhelming force. Karen Jordan's downfall was as public as the meeting she had tried to use for my destruction. The judge's harsh words made the front page of the local paper. The district attorney, spurred on by the public outcry and the clear-cut evidence, moved quickly. Karen was officially charged with filing a false report to authorities, perjury, and felony animal cruelty for the chemical spray attack. The last I heard, she had sold her house at a loss and moved 2 states away to deal with the mountain of legal bills and the public disgrace. Her name became a cautionary tale in our neighborhood, a synonym for the abuse of petty power. The 2 board members who had enabled her were forced to resign and issue a public apology. They were lucky to escape charges themselves. The old homeowner association was dissolved and a new one was formed. This time with a board elected by residents who were now fiercely protective of their rights and deeply suspicious of anyone who loved rules a little too much. The first act of the new board was to issue a formal written apology to me and to pay the damages awarded by the court. They also made a sizable donation in Teddy's name to a local veteran service dog organization. Sarah, the assistant, found a new job almost immediately. She had become something of a local hero. She had stood up to a bully, and our community respected her for it. She and I became unlikely friends. We would often see each other when she was walking Alfie, and we would stop and chat. We were bound by the strange, stressful war we had survived together. My life slid back into a quiet rhythm, but a different quiet. Not the fragile kind, the earned kind. The fear Karen planted was gone. Neighbors waved more. People talked on the sidewalks. Even Duke came by with a plate of cookies, mumbling that he had been wrong and Teddy was a heck of a dog. I took the cookies. I was done carrying grudges. I would carry Teddy's leash instead. The community was not done either. They said an apology and a donation were not enough. They wanted to honor the dog who pulled us together. At the town council meeting, I sat with Teddy at my feet and listened. Mrs. Gable, the Millers, folks I barely knew. They did not just praise a dog. They talked about what he stood for. Loyalty, courage, steady work done in silence. They said he saved a street from fear and saved his handler from the dark. A week later, we gathered at the small park at the end of our block. The mayor came. News cameras came too, but the mood was light this time. The mayor spoke, then bent and slipped a ribbon over Teddy's neck. A custom medal, the city's civilian service medal. From the crowd, Marty lifted his walkie. K8MRT. Mission complete. Requesting belly rubs. Laughter broke the tension. Teddy did not know about medals. He knew about people being kind. He did not know about medals. He knew about people being kind. Then the mayor pulled a cord. A new wooden sign swung into view. The old paint was gone. The fresh carving read Teddy's Park. The crowd cheered. I looked down at my partner. His medal sat a little crooked. His eyes were bright. He was still the same good boy, just with a new place named after him. That evening, when the trucks and cameras were gone, we walked to his park. The light was soft. Teddy sniffed the same trees and trotted the same loop, tail high like always. He had not changed. The street had. I sat on a bench and watched a leaf skitter across the path. The question from that bad day came back. How far will a man go to defend his own? Far enough. As far as it takes. Until the fight is won, and home feels like home again. Teddy pressed against my leg and let his head rest on my lap. The metal felt cool through the fabric. I scratched his ear. We stayed there a while, just listening to the wind in the leaves of Teddy's park.